Later this month will mark 4 years since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And ahead of the grim anniversary, it seems the United States is reigniting its push to end the deadly overseas conflict.
We think it's a war that never should have happened and should end as soon as possible.
Speaking in Budapest Monday, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio touted America's influence on both Russia and Ukraine and took shots at the United Nations.
We're the only nation on earth that apparently can get both sides to the table to talk. I'm not here to insult anybody, but the United Nations hasn't been able to do it.
2 days of talks between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States are expected to start on Tuesday in Geneva. The meetings marking the third round of trilateral discussions that the U.S. has brokered since the war began and come as Kyiv faces mounting pressure to strike a deal, while Moscow continues to demand Ukraine cede the entirety of its Donbas region.
The Americans often return to the topic of concessions, and too often those concessions are discussed in the context only of Ukraine, not Russia. Europe is practically not present at the table. It's a big mistake to my mind.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy met with U.S. senators in Kyiv Monday ahead of the trilateral discussions, where he voiced his country's desire for increased U.S. pressure on Moscow, pointing to a sanctions bill currently before the U.S. Senate.
I am working with Senator Graham on a sanctions bill that we hope is on the verge of a vote. I'm very, very hopeful that it will be successful.
The bipartisan legislation would impose sanctions on countries who are doing business with Russia, including buyers of its energy exports. As the diplomacy continues in Europe, here in Canada, the Federal Immigration Department is out with a reminder for Ukrainian emergency visa holders. The federal government says they expect the nearly 300,000 Ukrainians who fled the war to return home once the conflict ends. This message actually comes in contrast to comments made by Canada's federal immigration minister. She recently acknowledged that many Ukrainians who came to Canada on temporary visas are here to stay. At present, the wait time for those seeking permanent residency in humanitarian and compassionate cases in Canada is more than 10 years. For City News, I'm Karling Donoghue.